Hello, welcome back to Carlos and Lisa. I'm Lisa Remillard.
And I'm Carlos Amezcua. We're still not matching.
Yeah, how about that?
Well, sort of matching.
Well, ish.
All right. So let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Places like Playa Grande, Costa Rica, Jeffreys Bay, South Africa, Huntington Beach, California. These are some of the world's best surf spots.
We all know you can't have great surf spots without having great waves and clean oceans. But sadly, the world's oceans are deteriorating.
Yeah, there's been overfishing, pollution, and of course just development taking a toll, leaving the ocean ecosystem kind of out of whack. And that has a negative effect on so many things, including our food supply and even our climate.
And those who see it firsthand are the more than 34 million surfers who are out there around the world paddling those waves, surfing those waves every single day.
Yeah, as a longtime surfer, I, of course, can attest to this. Surfers have a really special relationship, closeness with the ocean. It's that relationship and commitment to keeping our oceans healthy that Conservation International and Save the Waves are kind of banking together in on a new initiative to try to clean up the environment that we so much love.
The groups are partnering with surf communities around the world to create surf-protected areas. Their goal is to sustainably manage millions of acres of coral reefs and other marine habitats in areas that otherwise would not be protected.
I can't tell you how frustrating it is to surf with plastic crap all over the water. That
Yes.
just makes me angry.
I know.
And you think to yourself, I need to do something about this. And so we're going to talk to this guy, Scott Atkinson from Conservation International, this guy right here.
Yeah, he's here with us.
Who's done
Hi,
the
Scott.
same thing, and she was shaking his head the minute I said it. It's true. It almost makes you it upsets you so much. You see trash in the ocean, that we use for our recreation and for our health and for our climate.
Yeah, it's exactly
Welcome.
like you said. Hi,
Yeah.
Carlos. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
It's exactly like you said. Surfers are so passionate about the ocean, and when they have the places that they love so much be polluted, be covered in plastics, or they start to see the coastline change and the development just destroy that beauty that they've grown up with, they do get angry, they get upset, and they want to take action. And the Surf Conservation Partnership is all about giving people a way to take action to protect surf breaks around the world that they love, but also the larger environment, because the surf breaks themselves, while important, they're sustained by the larger environment. They're sustained by the forests, by the coastlines, by the healthy coral reefs, and that's pretty much our mission.
All right, so it's actually a quite brilliant idea to get the surfers involved because they have that passion, but also I feel like all the surfers I know are the kind of ladies and men who do things, who are actually
Absolutely.
active and who actually take steps to save things, fix things, work on things. So let's talk about protecting those surf spots. And what exactly does that look like? Are you going to rope it off? Like, what does it look like?
Sure. I think the best way to think of it is think of the national parks in the U.S. Think of Channel Islands, where basically the things that destroy nature are limited in those places. If we have too much overfishing, if we have too much sand mining, if we have too much cutting of the forest, that will cause problems in the marine environment. If we put too much plastic in, if we put too much sewage in, that will cause problems in the marine environment. So really what we're doing is managing what we take out of the ocean and what we put into the ocean. And if you do those two things, the formula is really quite simple. And it is protected areas, but with those kind of two things to balance and keep nature intact for the benefit of people. We don't exclude people. We want people to enjoy it. We want them to surf. People still need to fish, but you just need to do it in a balanced way that really protects the environment.
Even when they dam up rivers upstream, that affects the ecosystem of the oceans and the rivers and the water mouths and all of that. So you know, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, your involvement personally, what this means to you personally, because as I mentioned, when I'm in the water, I want the ocean to be clean and pure. What is it like for you? You live in Hawaii. You surf in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, almost every day of my life I've been going into the ocean surfing, and then professionally been a marine conservationist for over 25 years. And so for a long time, I couldn't figure out how to put the two together. And then I met partners at Save the Waves who've been protecting surf ecosystems around the world, some of the world's most iconic waves. And I work for Conservation International, where we've been protecting nature in a large scale. And we basically said, look, surfers are passionate, I'm passionate, everyone who does it really loves that resource. We said, can we combine these protecting the breaks themselves and protecting the larger nature? And that's really where my personal passion came in. It was just a matter of seeing that this is a force, as Lisa said, 34 million surfers worldwide. This is a force that are basically looking for a way to do conservation. I think every single one of us, if you gave us an easy path to follow where we could contribute and help, we would do it. And that's exactly what this initiative is trying to do, built out of our personal interest, but then applying really tried and true protected area techniques.
Okay, so it's lovely that you are all surfers and you're all trying to find those steps to conserve and save waves and save the ocean and protect the environment. But you can't do that without buy-in from governments, from local municipalities, from all of the local leaders, business owners that also operate in those same environments that you're trying to protect.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, how do you get them on board? Because they have their own interest that sometimes doesn't include conserving your protected area.
Yeah, so I'll give the example of our first site in Indonesia. It's called Morotai Island, where the local community, as you mentioned, they're surfers. They love it, they want to protect it. They saw that it was changing, and they, just like myself, just like Carlos said, we got to do something. So the way they got the government on board is pretty much through the force of local communities saying, look, we need to do something, and the government sees the opportunity. If they maintain that environment, they'll be able to increase tourism and have development that's sustainable and ultimately does not destroy what the local people and ultimately what the government needs, which is an intact environment. If you were to just develop mass tourism that ended up basically destroying the environment, it might work for a while, but over time, essentially people will leave. We've seen cases all around the world where tourism has gotten too much tourism and they've had to close sites in Thailand, in the Philippines, sites in Indonesia. So look, we're talking about a balanced tourism that benefits the surfing communities, the traveling surfers, anyone else who wants to come there for marine conservation. And the government is happy because their constituents are happy and they're generating income from tourism. So it's kind of a win-win-win for everybody.
Where this really came to my mind was, interestingly enough, the conservation efforts out on Long Island, having surfed somewhat in the East Coast. I grew up in San Diego, but when I went out to the East Coast, it was a whole different world, and the things that were going on there were really starting to change back in the 80s when I lived there. And what you're saying is really interesting, and that is this is a global effort. This cannot be done. You can't isolate the ocean to just one coast or one shoreline or one surf spot. It's really a global approach, and that's partly why you need partnerships with business, like Lisa mentioned, and environmentalists as well.
That's right. So if you think about this, with this 34 million surfers around the world, they had been mobilized before to address things like plastic pollution, sewage, and development.
Yeah.
But the protected area movement, creating a network of protected areas around the world's best surf breaks, it hadn't been done before. So that's what we're working to do. And I think of it like this. Conservation, we've talked about the crisis in our global oceans, the decline in fish, the statistic that by 2050, the weight of plastic in the ocean will exceed the weight of fish. We hear all these things, which is, what can we do? Well, here's a group of allies that want to do something, and we can mobilize them to do it. And so I think it's a pretty fascinating approach that we didn't think of until just the last year, and we've been going strong about for 12 months now with our first site in Indonesia.
And the last thing I want to ask, because I'm sure we have a lot of surfers who watch us, we are here in Los Angeles, and so there's a lot of people that have a passion about the ocean here. So where can people get involved? How can they get involved? What is it that they need to do? Do you need them to go to the surf spots and rope it up? What do you need them to do?
They need their money.
What do you need?
Well, you're right, Carlos. We always do need financial support, but we need a couple of other things too. We need people's ideas and suggestions. We're just started a year ago. Our first site is in Indonesia, but we plan to expand to Fiji, Costa Rica, even Liberia, West Africa. Basically anywhere where surf, important ecosystems, forests, and marine areas, and local people who are looking for community development opportunities overlap, will work there. So we need people to give us their ideas and suggestions. Social networks, if they think, hey, I have a friend who would really love this and might want to get involved, we'd like to meet them. And then, of course, the financial support. We can't do it without money.
And finally, a website that people can go to.
Yeah, you can go to www.conservation.org/surf. So Conservation International, conservation.org/surf.
All right, Scott, thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us.
Best of luck to you. Thanks for the good work
pleasure,
you're doing out there. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.